Welcome to the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center as we return with the Texas High School Coaches Association Convention. Scott Linhoff will be later. He had to postpone, but we do have Anthony Boykin as scheduled on time, able to work his calendar and be punctual, so we appreciate that. Coach Linhoff is punctual. He just has many demands on his time. In the meantime, let's talk with Coach Boykin about the Stevens Falcons. You're in such a competitive district. The four-way tie for second, I think, is phenomenal. And if you win that tiebreaker out of that district with that alignment, you have possibilities. And Stevens had a great season and a great postseason.
Yeah, we always say that our district is like the SEC. Every week, your opponents are amazing. They're well coached, great athletes, and so – up and down through the district schedule, it's going to be tough. We just happen to win the right games at the right time at the end of the season to get us into the playoffs, and then we got on a run. We got hot and went on a run.
The playoff run was terrific. That game against Harlingen, we know Harlingen is always going to be a motivated, well-coached team. They certainly showed that. And the Falcons, and I've seen this from that community before with previous coaches, they dug down deep and found a way to win that game against the Cardinals. Tell us about that from the stands. That was a classic.
It was. Down in Corpus, it was a beautiful Saturday afternoon. And, we knew that Harlingen's very well coached. They're tradition-rich. They're used to winning, year in and year out down there. And so, they're big and they're athletic. Heck, they had their 100-meter runner win the state meet this year in the 100. And so, their speed on the field. They got us down early. Our tight end got injured catching the ball in the first half. We had a lot of our game plan, generated around him. So in the second half, we had to come out and make adjustments, and they still were getting after us. And we just found a way. It just kind of clicked about midway through the fourth quarter. And we kind of done it the week before against Laredo United down in Laredo, where we just kind of got going in the fourth quarter and got into a rhythm. And the kids made plays. Our quarterback, KK Brashears, did an outstanding job directing the offense. Defense made some stops, and we came back, took the lead, and then we stopped them on their last drive going to the end zone. Our outside linebacker, Mateo Laurel, made a great interception in the end zone to cement the game for us.
You mentioned beating Laredo United in the first round. So you went against David Sanchez and Manny Gomez. People who follow this understand those are two of the best coaches in the state. If you're going against David Sanchez, that's one of the great offensive minds in the region, certainly, and arguably in the state. So I'm not sure some people appreciate the challenge that the Falcons face there. And when it came to the chess match, Anthony Boykin and the Stevens Falcons came out ahead. Tell us about it going against United, because stuff is coming from everywhere when you're going against David Sanchez.
Yeah, Coach Sanchez is he's one of my mentors. I've known him a long time. He's such a gentleman, well respected in the coaching community. So, just having an opportunity to – in fact, I was teasing before the game. I was like, when are they going to name this stadium after you? Going, head-to-head against him was a challenge. And he's a better coach than me. Coach Gomez, too, down hard. Those guys are better coaches than me. It's just having great kids at Stevens who executed when the game was on the line and made plays. That was a difference in the ballgame. There was nothing special that I did, that's for sure, Mark.
Well, I think you may be selling yourself a little bit short, Anthony. But we'll talk about the players. I know that's what you prefer anyway. The obvious name is KK Brashears because it seems like he's been there for about 5 years, and he still has some time left for you. Tell us about his growth. When a kid starts as a freshman, it's interesting to see how they progress because they were already good enough to play when they walk on campus.
Yes, he's an amazing young man. If you had a gold star, he's a gold star, A-plus standard. The thing about KK is that if you recall the TV show Friday Night Tykes, there was one of the networks, I think it's on Netflix or something now. When he was younger, he was on that show, along with a couple other quarterbacks in the district. The quarterback from Taft was on that show. The quarterback from Brennan was on that show. There's a lot of guys in the area who were on that show, on those teams that were really good when they were younger. So he played a lot of football. he was used to being in front of cameras and, just kind of, having, pressure situations put on him. So when he came in the summer entering his freshman year, it was my first year at Stevens, and he was just kind of hanging out and always wanted to come to my office and just kind of hang out. And I was like, oh, KK, I'm talking with the older guys right now. But he kept coming in, sitting in the back row. And before you know it, I was like, okay, well, he's shown some ability through the, start of the two-a-days. Well, get up there and take, a couple reps throwing the ball, and he just kind of worked his way. We had some injuries, things like that. And next thing you know, we pop up, first game against Bernie Champion, who had a great team, and he's starting. Bernie Champion beat the tar out of us, and my wife made it. She's like, she saw KK throw quick game, and it bounced about 3 times before it got out there. My wife says, oh, my gosh, he's so little. He was 130 pounds at the time, starting as a freshman. And she said he's so little.
Was Chris Webber still with Bernie Champion at the time? Do you remember? Because
yes.
That defensive lineman
yes,
who's pitching at A&M now.
Yes, the lineman had a safety that
I think if you staple 2 KKs together that age, you get Chris Webber.
Yes, exactly. And Coach Kaiser does such a great job. So the ball bounced about 3 times. My wife get home. She says, I don't know if he's going to be able to make it through the season. He's so little, and he's having trouble getting. He's not strong enough to get it out there. But his development over the course of his freshman year was amazing, and he ended up throwing for like 1,300 yards his freshman year. Led us to the playoffs. We lost a great game to Madison in the first round. But that experience and him growing into a sophomore season last year, we just kind of keep opening up the playbook a little bit more for him. And he's just such a sponge and a student of the game that, going into his junior year, we're really excited.
Tell us about what's developing around him. It looks like, from what you're describing, he's a quintessential team player, which is remarkable for a TV star at that age. Tell us about the offense that's building around him and how they're growing to work together.
Right. Well, Ethan Gonzalez, his go-to receiver last year, he's our top receiver. He's back. He caught 82 balls for us last season for almost 1,200 yards. So he's back. He's his primary target. He's kind of his go-to guy. We've got another guy coming up on the other side. We feel real good about Devin Idar, who's athletic, and he had a great spring. Ethan was injured through the spring ball, but Devin, he really shined during that time. We've got a good situation at running back. We've got kind of a 3-headed monster that we think we're going to go. We got a young guy coming up who's going to be real good. His brother was a great player at Stevens. His older brother was, and so we feel good about him with 2 returners, Dominic Cardenas and Jace Butler. The O-line is where we've got some work to do. We're replacing 4 of the starters. So that's where, and that's why we needed spring ball to replace 4 starters. We got our big guy back, Elias Gill, though, and so we're excited about that offensively.
Well, we'll certainly talk about the other aspects of the team, but you mentioned having a good spring. After last year, having a spring probably was quite a blessing. Tell us about the advantages that you had, given that last year you had so little in terms of certainly face-to-face development, and Zoom just doesn't replace that, especially in football, which depends so much on unspoken communication, choreography, all the things that you coordinate to make teams work together.
Right, and COVID was so crazy. It's still here, but it was such a crazy year last year with the safety precautions and everything, and then of course with how our structures were, again, not having spring and not having close contact with the kids, and coaches, we're creatures of habit. This is going into my 27th year, and last year was unlike any other. And so, yeah, we had to make adjustments with, having Zoom meetings and things like that. And the kids did a great job, and the coaches did a great job, but there's nothing like the tangible part of being, having kids in the room with you, being able to watch film and get their immediate feedback. And then, obviously, going through spring ball and getting the reps, the physical reps of, running and hitting. So we felt like we needed to do spring this year, to get our linemen in tune with our skilled players. So, yeah, we were excited to have. We had a great spring.
And there's not only the football aspect of things, but you alluded to KK deciding he wanted to hang out in your office just to be around the players and soak some things in and be there interpersonally. that was taken away from you guys. And from a coach's standpoint, I know coaches come to view their players like their own children, so you've been cut off from 80 of your sons, in effect, and your coaches are in the same situation. Tell us about that, because there's not only the interpersonal hazard, but so much of the reward of coaching was taken away from you.
Right, and that's what we're all in it for, as coaches, because we love kids. That's the number one thing. And so, when you're cut off from that, you spend so much time with them. Especially during the season, it's before school, it's during school, it's, after school, it's on the weekend, Saturday. And so you spend so much time and getting to know, them on a football level, but even more importantly on a personal level. You find out, their hopes and dreams and aspirations, find out about their girlfriends, find out about their families and all those things. So, we were definitely missing that component. The coaching is 100% relationship. I just saw two of my players, a couple booths down, who are in the sporting good business now, and they're 32 and 33 years old. And they came up, they called me and hugged my neck, and they're telling me they love me, and the lesson I love them too, and the lesson that they learned back when they were 15 and 16, they're now applying it to their families as well. That's the rewards that coaches. We crave that, the reward that we get from the kids when they grow up and have a chance to give back. I see one of my coaches, one of my former players now walking down who he played for me, and now he's a head coach in Austin. So it's amazing, waving at him right now. I'm telling him about you, Louis. And so it's amazing to see when those guys grow up and they do great things.
Well, tell us a little bit about these folks, because clearly you're beaming with pride over how these young men have shaped up in their lives.
Yes. Again, it's like you alluded to, Mark, it's kind of like your own kids where, you invest so much in them. You have dreams, and we talk about all the time about them becoming, responsible members of their community and becoming great fathers, loving their sons and daughters. And I always tell them, you guys, when you become rich and famous, take me out for a steak dinner. And I don't want no cheap steak either. I want like a Ruth Chris or something like that. So I always tease them about that. But that's what we do. That's why we're in this business.
You mentioned 29-6A being the SEC, and I can vouch for that. One thing I allude to is the J Mustangs. I did get to see them play against Marshall. I can name a handful of teams in 6A teams in the area who couldn't stay on the field with Jay. They were so explosive on offense, and yet they went winless. And we know Gary Gutierrez knows how to coach them up. Describe some of the challenges that Stevens is facing, because you do the math, 4-way tie for second. Warren ended up missing out even though they were tied for second place, and then you had Marshall O'Connor one game back. Describe some of what Stevens is looking forward to or perhaps dreading as you get to district.
Right. Yeah, those top to bottom, there's no weeks off, that's for sure. If you look at the Dave Campbell's magazine, they have Brennan, picked first place, and I think that's a pretty good pick. But the rest of us, you can kind of put in a hat and just see from week to week, how each ball game is going to go. Jay and, Marshall had a great season last year. Holmes was a tough ball game before we opened the season with him. And he's a good friend of mine, Coach Morales. They're tough out. And then you go through with Taft and Warren and O'Connor. It just keeps building each week, and so you never know what you're going to get. You got to have great game plans, and kids got to execute, and then you just got to hope for the best each week.
And you're going to love every minute of it.
Love every minute. It's fun. It's great. It's great to start the Texas high school football season. There's nothing like it.
Coach Boykin, thank you so much for joining us. Have a good season, and we'll be carrying all the games at Gustafson Stadium and Ferris Stadium, and we'll be following a lot of playoff games. Coach Boykin knows. We chased him down in Corpus Christi for that Harlingen game. So if you keep winning, we'll find you. So we'll definitely have a lot of Stevens Falcons football on Texas Sports Productions. This is Anthony Boykin, head coach of the Stevens Falcons. We'll be back with more after a short break. I'm Mark Kusenberger. Thank you for joining us at the Texas High School Coaches Association Convention.